Welcome along to Cisco Meraki Update. My name's Simon Thompson. I am a technical evangelist at Cisco Meraki, one of the best job titles there must be in the whole tech world, I expect. Have you guys heard enough about cloud yet today? No. Not enough? Okay. I'm relieved to hear that. What I'm hoping to do in the next, I don't know how long I've got exactly, 30 minutes or so, is just take you through a little update on state of play with Cisco Meraki. I think some of you, it's going to be relatively new, so I'd like to try to get through as much of the portfolio as I can. My challenge with the time I have is that I've got a complete networking stack to get through, hence full stack update. So what I want to do is just give you a quick introduction to Meraki very fast, and then we'll go into some of the stuff that's new for those who are already experts, and we definitely have a few of you in the room here. All right, so those of you who are new to Cisco Meraki, just a very quick introduction. We are offering a complete 100% cloud-managed networking solution, and it is everything you need to build a local area network. The distinction being it is entirely 100% cloud-managed. And so this is not technology that's been adapted to work in the cloud at some late stage. It has been that way since day one. So our founders had a project whilst they were undertaking studies at MIT, early 2000s, just as the industry was starting to migrate away from fat APs to the controller-based model we've been using for a while now. Their approach was based around meshing together wireless APs, outdoor APs in the Cambridge, Massachusetts area. And the model they came up with was a centralized model as well, but this time using servers for management rather than controllers. So this is what's been has developed as a cloud-based solution. We were initially a wireless company, incorporated in 2006, and we grew very rapidly and are still doing so today, and have added everything else you need to build your local area network, so switches, security appliances, and most recently of all, mobile device management software. So many huge deployments. We were acquired by Cisco at the back end of 2012, so we're still wearing our Meraki t-shirts, but they do say Cisco on them now as well. And we have a stand here at, obviously at Cisco Live, so do come along and see us if you get a chance. So what we're trying to do here is bring the concept of the cloud to enterprise networking. And so the convenience that we enjoy when we're accessing our webmail or accessing our online banking is that we can access that data wherever we happen to be. So we tend not to worry too much about the security aspects. We accept that we have a secure model in front of us, and we use that because it's very convenient. Same concept here. We use this to manage our data network. It's a very simple idea, but it is proving to be very, very effective, and we are, as I said, growing extremely rapidly. It's a complete graphical user interface operation here, so there is no cryptic command line interface to learn. We usually turn off a few Cisco engineers at this point, but that's okay. I just keep pushing through, because I know they'll fall in love with it eventually. But as you can see, there's a complete suite of products here. So for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to go into a little more detail on the wireless, so you'll see the APs that are in the portfolio. But on the switches, for example, we have 14 different models of switch, going all the way from small 8-port switches right the way up to big aggregation 48-port SFP switches. So a great deal of power for at least mid-sized data centers, maybe not the serious heavy lifting gear.
Can I just ask a really, really dumb question? Why have you got your own line of switches, considering Cisco have got, I mean, is this kind of historic, is this legacy that's kind of been brought in, or are you continuing to develop those switches? Yeah,
so I mean, the portfolio is actually relatively new. It's literally 2 years. Yes, it's 2 years, I think I've got that right, since we launched our switching portfolio. So it is very new, and was the first cloud-managed switch in the industry. Right now we have access layer, and that's where we started. Then we moved to the distribution layer. So at the end of the day, this is all driven by our customers. If they demand a core switch and we see the numbers for that, then we'll certainly develop it.
I know nothing about this, so excuse the questions. I admit they're going to be terrible.
People now that people are falling in love with this, they're asking us, how can we use this to manage this? That you manage this? There are plenty of questions like that, so the portfolio will certainly expand. As well as that, we have a complete UTM solution. So what we call security appliances. There are 6 different models of those. Again, going all the way from small SMB type operations right up to big enterprise campuses. We have a device capable of supporting around 10,000 users worth of throughput. So that's a really powerful box right there. And MDM has been seeing some interesting developments as well. It started out as a pretty simple free solution for people to start managing a few devices here and there. It has grown now. We've got customers running literally thousands and thousands of devices through single implementation of Systems Manager and have started to add more features to it. I'll go into more detail on some of this. Now, for those of you who are new to Meraki, I'd like to just very quickly take you through the architecture. It's very simple. We start off with our web browser. We access one of our cloud-based servers. So too does the Meraki hardware. So the Meraki hardware is persistently connected to the cloud in a very similar way to which an iOS device is persistently connected to Apple's cloud service. So this enables us to very rapidly pass configuration changes in one direction, but also to receive monitoring information in the other direction. Now, this is an out-of-band solution, so we're not carrying all of the user traffic through the cloud. That would be a fairly disastrous architecture to aim for. So all we're doing here is literally that configuration and monitoring traffic. And it runs at about 1 to 1.5 kilobits per second per Meraki device. So it's barely touching your infrastructure in terms of bandwidth. Now, the fact that it's an out-of-band solution means that we do continue to operate a Meraki local area network even if we're unlucky enough to be disconnected from the cloud. That's a really significant point, something we're always asked about, every presentation, every single training class I'd give. That's an absolute fundamental one to get right. Okay. So feature velocity is something which Meraki is very famous for. We have been developing features at a very rapid rate. Those of you who are close to us, work with us regularly, you know this. I don't need to spell it out for you. That's why we have a blog that's updated several times a week. I'll just finish this slide build. It's just illustrating the speed at which we have new features coming out. And what I want to do for the remainder of this session is take you through some of what's new and very recent on our various different portfolios. So start off with wireless. So those of you who have your ears very close to the ground, you will probably know this already, but I'd like to just take everybody through it. So 802.11ac, we have a little reflection here on the marketplace. I think we've all recognized that we are seeing very rapid adoption of 11ac. It's faster adoption than we saw with 11n. So very exciting for us in the industry because obviously this gives us an opportunity to look at new hardware, new capabilities, pushing out new media applications that can handle this kind of throughput. So in August of 2012, we announced our first AC access point, and that was the MR34. And we have now followed that up with the MR32. This was a product that we announced back in early December and is now available and shipping to the marketplace. So this one is a little different. It's not a flagship access point. This one is a dual stream AC access point designed to come in at a slightly lower price point so that we can really start to boost the rollout of 11ac. And Meraki actually launched a new 11n access points around about a year ago now because we have a lot of confidence that 11n still has a long way to run, but we're seeing what's going on with the AC market uptake. And so it makes sense for us to have both flagship and mid-range AC access points.
What do you see driving that transition more? Is it just Moore's Law and hardware is getting cheaper, or do you see an uptake in the clients, or just people wanting to live on the leading edge?
My sense is that as people start to look at new Wi-Fi architectures, they're always looking to see what the latest standard is and future-proofing as far as they possibly can. So whilst we do have some challenges on the radio design around AC, I think those are sort of being fleshed out. People are learning as they go, but they're looking for that level of throughput. And of course, the marketing helps a lot, gigabit performance. People love to hear that kind of stuff. So that's my sense of where we're going with that. Now, we also at the same time announced and are now shipping an outdoor version of this. So this is our first foray into outdoor 11ac, MR72. And just as with all of our other outdoor APs that we've shipped in the past, they're using standard N-type connectors. So Meraki itself is shipping a range of antennas, different types, but you can attach any vendor's antenna to that you like. We still support on warranty the AP itself.
And have you submitted all of those to the FCC for validation as the platform, or any of them?
Some of.
Some of. Do you have a comprehensive list on the website?
Work in progress right now, absolutely. So you'll probably have seen some developments happening around DFS channels, that kind of thing. So we are ongoing work there to keep ourselves up to date.
Excuse me, I mean submitted to ETSI for approval.
Etsy, I'm not sure about. Etsy, I'm not sure about in this context. Very contextual. Okay, so here's the lineup of APs for 2015. Starting off with entry-level MR18, 11N. As I said, we believe 11N still has a long way to go. It's a very mature standard right now, but certainly not in its later years just yet.
What about 62, Simon?
So 62 has been made end of sale now, so it's still supported. We'll still be getting software updates for a number of years, but it is now end of sale. So the 32 and the 72, they sit right there in the middle. 34 remains as the flagship AP today. So just one more thing. The guy earlier on has actually stolen my thunder slightly, but we have a little trick up our sleeve, and that is Bluetooth and beacons, BLE technology. So we have shipping APs with a Bluetooth radio, low energy radio built right into the access point. And we're really excited about this. I went to a little conference in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago where there was a room full of developers looking at BLE applications and where they can take this technology. And I think it's fair to say that we're still in the fairly early stages, but I think it offers a lot of very exciting potential. So what we wanted to do was get the hardware out there. It's the same premise as we heard a little bit earlier on, which is this is not going to be ideal for all those microcell type of requirements you're going to need BLE for. But for general site-wide style Bluetooth awareness, tracking, as well as app recognition, this is ideal to have placed into your APs. They're up on the wall already. You don't have to worry about powering them. It's all incorporated within the access point. No external module required.
Have you guys done any testing with the outdoor access point and the BLE? Because it's one of those things that seems kind of interesting from a design standpoint of why a beacon in an outdoor access point when an outdoor access point is typically going to be mounted on a pole 15, 20 feet up, and you know, BLE, it's low power, yes. So it's not necessarily supposed to go that far. I mean, you'd be having to hug the pole in order to get the beacon. Yeah, I mean, what I've been hearing on this is, although we assume that it's not meant to go too far, that's actually just a way in which you can deploy BLE, because it actually has got quite significant reach. You can actually get some comparable distance to what you would get in Wi-Fi in clear space. It's just down to the frequency hopping way that Bluetooth works. It's very efficient like that. So we're definitely getting better range than we were getting with earlier versions of Bluetooth, for example. So I think the reality is that we'll see a mix of this kind of deployment with it built into APs, and then for the more microcell stuff, you're going to stick with those stick-on estimates and so on.
And he spoke earlier about being able to BLE-TX out to program beacons and such. Is this that type of implementation, or is this RX only? It's
actually going in two directions. So we have, but we think about how this actually works. You have an app which recognizes the location of or the presence of a specific beacon and therefore can react to that. But we can also do in the other direction tracking of BLE devices as well. So if we have, for example, a trolley with expensive equipment on it with a tag on there, we can track that around the location. We can set geofences and see when it goes outside the space. And so
what about deterministic programming of a BLE tag?
No, we're not doing that just yet. No, this is, I mean, really this is 1.0 right now. So we've got the implementation out there, the major minor UUIDs is all built in to the dashboard. I can show you that shortly.
Does the hardware exist in the platform to do that, and just not yet implemented in the dashboard, or is it entirely going to be a new spin of BLE hardware later on?
I think we're going to need to see how it pans out. So I don't know how far the capabilities of the hardware goes. This is, as you'd expect, a standard BLE implementation. So we'll see what the kind of feedback is from our customers and then develop along those lines.
And the major and the minor, but it's
for tags
of a network. Okay. So that's the problem, is if you deploy 10 of these APs, they all have the same UDID and major and minor, and that was our first make-a-wish, was that's not going to fly in any environment.
We understand that piece of feedback straight away.
They are configurable, and you can create your own, or you could mimic a gimbal or somebody else, so then that picks it up.
All right, so I think this is probably teaching you guys to suck eggs, but just the concept here. What I like about this, perhaps an interesting point to make here, earlier on we had a discussion about privacy and opting out. As you know, you can do with Meraki already with the CMX style tracking that we've been doing for 18 months now. What I like about the Bluetooth approach is that it's very much the consumer opting in to this technology. So rather than having to switch their Wi-Fi off or actually proactively deselect themselves from tracking, they've got to actually have an app installed on their device in order for it to take advantage of this. So there's a real nice two-way exchange with the Bluetooth approach. So I think it's likely to really take off quite well, see really good consumer adoption. So this slide's really just depicting the fact that we fit into a broader ecosystem. We're not trying to displace the specialist roles that the current specialists in beacon technology are deploying. The idea here is that where you need to have site-wide beaconing, macro location analytics, you've now got Bluetooth there as an option as well as the Wi-Fi analytics. And then for the specialists, we let them carry on working on the microcell approach, aisles in supermarkets, that kind of thing. So we think we've got a pretty good solution here. Obviously, all cloud managed. You guys already know the benefits of this. How many of you have APs, by the way? Meraki APs? Okay, just to give me an idea. Really? I'm pleased to hear that. All right, so that's an exciting new step for us, for sure. All right, on to switches. Now, our switch product manager, he loves this slide because it's kind of Apple-like. They put these up on their keynotes. When they're comparing themselves against Android, they say, look how many people are on iOS, the latest version already. Well, so we've got a really good story to tell around software updates on Meraki. Our customers love the fact that they don't have to go off and find firmware. They don't have to pull it down, install it themselves. It's really a push solution. So they determine when they want the updates to occur. They are then simply pushed down to all of their switches and implemented immediately. So that's a pretty good state to be in, 99% on latest release firmware.
Simon, will it still be a policy that they don't give the release firmware? Say it's 8.0 or 8.1 yes. Or whatever?
Yep. It will be. It's really down to the approach we have around keeping it simple for the customers. Because at the end of the day, the customer wants to know if their product's working or not working. Engineers can get into that kind of detail, but we don't tend to expose it. That's the key point. It's just it's a decision about how we present ourselves, that's all. All right, so we have some really nice new features which are helping us move into larger scale networks. That's what's interesting here. You mentioned earlier on about why we're not already doing large core switches. Watch this space, I would say. But really what we've been working on is the features that are going to enable these kind of larger deployments. So specifically, we have been focusing around software like OSPF, VRRP, DHCP leasing, and so on. So that's really going to help us to move into those larger campus deployments. So we're just listing some of the large campus features we've got here. So OSPF, of course, as I mentioned, we have challenged ourselves to take something which is pretty complex to configure in the traditional networking world and Merakify it. So if you've seen the Meraki dashboard, you know that our emphasis is on simplicity first rather than complexity first. So taking a protocol like OSPF and implementing that in the Meraki dashboard is actually quite challenging to do. We think we've done a pretty good job with the first implementation. So the best thing to do is just try it out and let us know what you think. IPv6, we've been hearing a lot of requests for this. We have implemented visibility and tracking into our traffic analytics now on the Meraki side of things. There's going to be more to come for sure. We're all moving at different speeds, I think, on v6, but it's certainly on our radar. DHCP server built in as obviously a good requirement for small to medium campuses. We've implemented IPv4 ACLs, so you can now start to filter without the need for a firewall. If you're a small operation, that may be all that you need. And then VRRP with failover support, which is a key feature for moving into larger campuses.
How about router advertisements for IPv6? Do that yet?
I'm sorry?
Router advertisements for IPv6?
Not yet.
I was curious the extent of your support.
Yeah, absolutely going to be coming though. So it's on the to-do list for sure. All right, I just wanted to show you a couple of brand new ones. I don't know how many of you will have seen these already. They were part of our quarterly update that we gave just a couple of weeks ago. So we have enhanced port security. We've added in sticky MAC functionality and also port protection. So we can ensure that if you want to communicate between a couple of ports, you've got to go through a layer 3 device in order to do that. So these are really helping to improve the security. Live tools may not make a lot of sense to you unless you've seen the Meraki dashboard. So what I'll do is I'll go into a little demo after I've run through some slideware, and I can see the time ticking away already, so I need to get to that fast. We'll have a quick look at the live tools on the switch. Very exciting one, I think, is network topology. So we've all been there making our Visio diagrams, and by the time we've made them, they're out of date. We really regard this as yesterday's way of building a network diagram. We now have much more sophisticated LLDP, CDP-based discovery, and we can build dynamic topology maps on the dashboard. So you don't even have to use a separate tool for that anymore.
What are your export options there? Because a lot of tools that are doing that either are based on or have visibility into like a tool like GraphViz. So can you do export to DOT files?
So we're not exporting to specific file types of various different pieces of software right now. We can export a PDF of the network topology. We can print the topology. That's the export functionality right now. But it's a new feature. This is in beta right now. So provide us with feedback if you've got specifics, and we'll look at it.
Yeah. DOT is just sort of, I guess, a standard format for describing interconnected nodes of any kind. Obviously, huge use case for networking. But
I made that wish the first time it showed up on my dashboard.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, the reality is we might use GraphViz for documenting everything, and Meraki doesn't run everywhere, so we might want to have that port of it, you know.
Yeah, and we do have some visibility for third-party devices that are placed in amongst Meraki networking. We can do that as well, but obviously the level of detail that we can drill down to with a third-party is going to be limited. Security update. So let's have a look at what's new on the security appliance. There's been some interesting changes here, particularly around redundancy. We've now added the capability of having a complete warm spare, so it's an active failover capacity for data center application. And we also have data center redundancy as well, so that we can have a fallback data center geographically remote if we need to do that. So if we lose an entire site, we can still connect our VPN clients and site-to-site VPNs. We have introduced a NAT mode for HA as well, so that's a step forward. Previously, it was only on what we call concentrator mode for the VPNs. Up the top there, we've got geo-based IP firewall rules. It's a very simple thing, but these are all simple, nice little additions. When you go in to do your layer 7 firewalling, you can now, as well as choosing applications, you can actually choose countries to block. So I'll leave it up to you to decide which ones you would like to do in either direction, but we can now do layer 7 geo firewall rules as well. Something listed there as list update intervals. We actually have SourceFire integrated into our security appliances, have done since day one. We were working with them prior to their acquisition by Cisco, so it was very fortuitous for us. And we have a fantastic implementation of SourceFire in the security appliance. It enabled us, for example, to get Heartbleed protection within 24 hours of it being announced. So it's a really nice implementation. However, when you're pushing out large lists of security updates, these can take up quite a bit of bandwidth. We have some customers who are running on very low bandwidth connections or even on a cellular connection with these security appliances. So we now provide the option to determine how often those lists are refreshed to help keep the cellular overages down. And then with DHCP leases, as well as seeing a historical list of DHCP leases, we can now actually see the live information and see the countdown for each lease to see where that's at. This one's really nice. If you are deploying to multiple locations, we have introduced the concept of security appliance templates. So you can have a master, and then you can just replicate that amongst all of your geographic locations. To make that even easier, we've tweaked it a little further. So now we can actually provide rules based on a tag. So as you can see here, for example, we've got an outbound rule blocking on everything tagged as VoIP. And we have gone one step further in that we can take a tag and we can add a CIDR host identity to that as well, so we can get in even more detailed. And if you're replicating it amongst multiple locations, that does make life quite a bit easier. As far as integration with third-party VPNs, those who know Meraki, you know we have the best implementation of site-to-site VPN in this industry. Absolutely, and if you don't believe me, try it out for yourself. What we've done is we've enhanced our ability to integrate seamlessly with third parties. So we can now, for example, we've got a nice, you can't really see it here, but we have a nice pre-built group of settings for AWS, for example. And we can go in and create custom ones of these as well. They work like little templates of groups of settings. And then finally, we have tag-based third-party VPNs. So if you are wanting to efficiently connect to a service like AWS, you may not want to do that from all of your security appliances, which is the way it has been up until now. That's been basically treated like a mesh. But we can now determine a specific security appliance to connect through to AWS or to any other service of that kind.
Do you see the site-to-site VPN presets that include AWS and Azure today? Do you see that list growing? And if so, do you have any idea where we're targeting? It'd be nice to see something like, you know, if you're going to connect to an ASA, do it like this. If you're going to connect to a... That
would make very good sense. It would make very good sense. I think it makes sense where the service we're connecting to has a pretty standard set of rules. Because with an ASA, for example, it may be implemented differently by different engineers, depending on their preferences.
Right, but you could certainly pre-can out a config that says easy ASA, and oh, by the way, here are the ASA commands you need to put into your ASA in order to make this work.
Yeah, it would make perfect sense to look at those ones. And again, there's an easy answer for me every single time. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Shake your phone, make a wish. All right, MDM update, last but not least, and then I'll give you a quick whiz through the dashboard in the few minutes that I have remaining. This is a very exciting product for us. It's not hardware, it's pure software implementation. There is nothing to install, nothing, no piece of hardware to put in place. But this is a very exciting product for us. We actually have now the largest deployment by quite a long way of MDM software anywhere in this industry. Very exciting. Systems Manager is now deployed. I've seen a figure of around 75,000 end customer networks, which is a pretty impressive number. Now, what we're focusing on with Systems Manager is enhancing its suitability for deployment into larger organizations. So when Systems Manager first launched, it was actually a completely free product, and it's absolutely grew very nicely, but we had larger organizations coming to us and saying, hey, we need a service wrap around this. We're not entirely sure if you're going to be supporting a product that's free properly. So to help address that problem, we have introduced an additional version, an enterprise version of Systems Manager, which gives us some additional functionality, which I'll very quickly take you through here. I mean, the aim with enterprise mobility management is around, obviously, security, absolutely fundamental. We need to be able to provision devices seamlessly so that the end users don't feel an impact, don't have to have too many touch points themselves on these devices. And of course, the aim is to generate user happiness, something which Meraki is very keen to promote as much as possible. So as we move into the enterprise version of Systems Manager, the focus is around integrating into existing networking architectures. So we can now, for example, start to take account of a user's authentication protocol and profile to set their device up correctly. So they will have a set of rules and applications that would be deployed based on their user identity. So that gives us a lot of flexibility and control there. Lots of detail on here. I don't really have time to go through all of this, so I will skip forward.
The integration with Cisco ICE is real nice catcher.
Absolutely, yeah. Cisco ICE, I mean, we already have network integration with Cisco ICE, so we can already authenticate users and incorporate policies from Cisco ICE. There's ongoing work on ICE integration within the Meraki family. We want to get further into that as time goes by. But the fact that we now do this with MDM users as well is a really nice step forward. That's really what I was touching on there. We also do a security compliance check, a few basic things that we want to look at. What's the password situation? Is the device jailbroken? Where's the antivirus state right now? These are things which we can actually check and take action based on. So if they are non-compliant, we can remove certain applications from their device so that we have a nice protected environment in that sense. And then dynamic user enrollment means that we can just give the devices out and they will be logged onto the network and given their appropriate set of apps and settings and restrictions when they are first joined on. Finally, application control. This is what we've been doing really up till now, but it's just taken just that little bit further because we can now securely share content amongst users through the enterprise managed applications that we have. Okay, so the product line has these two different ones in there. It's just useful for you to know this, okay? So standard and enterprise are both in there, but the enterprise one is what's going to let you integrate into the network space. So I'm particularly interested to show those of you who have you not seen the dashboard at all before? It's brand new for you. particularly keen to show you guys how it looks. So just throw in questions of anything you're interested in looking at, because there's way more for me to show you than I have time to do so.
Silly question. Do you have APA for use this interface by scripting? I know you are making a nice interface to avoid command line, but if you want to automate.
Yeah, so the closest we have to that, well, not for automation of configuration. So we have SNMP read capability onto the dashboard, and we have, I'm still not 100% sure of its status, but I believe we have a Meraki pack available for Prime now, which was definitely due back end of last year. So if you're using Prime predominantly, then you can get some more visibility in there as well. We have other APIs for various other areas of integration, but from a management perspective, the dashboard really is our sweet spot.
For their analytics, their APIs are very robust.
Yeah, it's very simple API as well, very straightforward. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to log into the Meraki dashboard. Before I do so, I just want to highlight this very cool mobile app that we have. So the engineers who work with our products on a day-to-day basis, once they've configured everything in their web browser on their device, they don't even need to use that anymore. They can just use a mobile app on their smartphone, which is really nice. You just take it out of your pocket, you can see what your network's doing. I will show you that if we have a few minutes to do that. So let's just log in. I'm going to take a seat here if that's okay. A little bit easier to drive. And what I'll do is I'll take us to our own network in San Francisco, which is really the network running all the latest code. There's some nice things to see on this particular screen. We can, for example, see some nice features that Meraki has taken care of, like support for colorblind network engineers. These are little things that we like to pay attention to. We now have 263,000 active networks around the world. That is growing extremely fast. As you can see, really good coverage here in Europe. So let me jump into Meraki Corp itself. And I'll take you through a very quick, simple run-through of the interface so you can see what it might be like to live with as a network engineer. So we start off on this screen here. We can see the clients that have been on our network in the past week. Now I can drill down to more detail if I need to. I can look at the security appliance clients, switches, or access point clients in detail. And I can look at traffic for various different periods of time. So we'll leave it at this for now. So we've seen 2,091 client devices in the last week, 26.5 terabytes of traffic. So this is a busy data network. Now, one of the things that cloud is very good at, cloud management tools tend to be very good at. Think about your email service, your webmail service, and that is search. So cloud gives us the ability to search vast numbers of devices and also to group them together. So we use tagging extensively in the dashboard to help us group together logically devices. So for example, by site, by device type, and so on. So I can do a search here for a device type like iPad. So I've got 40 iPads that I've seen on my network in the past week. Very simple. And this works for operating systems as well. So I could type in Windows. And there I've got 274 Windows clients seen in the last week. And we're not just doing a simple name-based search here. This is actually quite sophisticated device fingerprinting techniques we're using here. So we can, as accurately as possible, predict what we have. And notice that everything in the display is dynamic. So as I type in Windows, I can now see the proportion of the total volume of traffic which is made up by the search that I've done. So this yucky yellow color here is our Windows traffic as a proportion of the total. Up here we have the applications pie chart, which shows us all the protocols that have been running on our network in the past week. This can get really busy, so what I prefer to do is just tap on this, and then it gives me this nice drop-down menu, very simple to read, with basically application-aware visibility of the applications consuming my bandwidth. So in the case of Meraki HQ, we have a lot of video and cloud services that we use ourselves for really soak testing these networks thoroughly. But if I was presenting this to a customer, I would say, well, let's have a look at one of these in a little bit more detail. Let's say we're a bit concerned about the volume of Gmail traffic that we've been seeing on our network. because we don't normally use that.
And it probably wouldn't show Meraki HTTPS as primary.
Thank you. That's a very good point to make. Yes, so well spotted. Those of you who work with Meraki, we have a lot of firmware updates and changes going on at HQ which would not occur in normal circumstances. That is a very good point. So here's a view of the Gmail contributors in the past week. So sorted by traffic usage, and so we have a clear winner here. 1.5 gigs of Gmail traffic. So we can now tap on that individual client and jump in and get a little bit more detail. Now this is where the interface really starts to come into its own. We have a view here which integrates with Google Maps. So you have the regular map and satellite views, but you can also upload your own floor plans, which is what we've done here. The APs are then plotted onto those floor plans, and they start to then triangulate the clients in real time, so you can get an approximate location for those. This is not quite the same level of accuracy as you can get with the specialist tools, but it's really nice to have as just part of your purchase of your APs. You can see live signal strength information is changing as I speak. So we have a client on 11N by the looks of it, and channel 153 there. And then further down, we have information which relates just to this client in terms of their traffic profile over the past week, and the applications that they've been running as well. So let me just show you that quickly. Now what we're doing here is classification of traffic as it passes through Meraki devices. So this is not information which is gathered in the cloud. This is metadata we're looking at here. So this is actually collated on the Meraki equipment itself. The APs, the switches, the security appliances can all do this.
One question here. If this is a live demo, how do you do the blurring?
Yeah, the blurring is quite clever, isn't it? What's that? So what that is, the ones that you can see on the screen there are ones that you probably recognize. They're names that you're probably familiar with. But occasionally you're going to see a host name that we're not able to interpret. We can't classify it accurately. So what we do instead is we actually provide the full host name, but we regard that as slightly more sensitive information. So the only person who can see that is the owner of this network. I'm not logged in as the owner. I'm logged in as one of the admins on this account.
And how do you make that distinction? How does the engine make that distinction, as in this is something I will show, this is something I do not show? Where's that line?
It's simply because the engine is recognizing a defined list of IP addresses, IP address ranges, or host names. So we can identify Gmail traffic, we can identify Salesforce traffic.
Everything that is not on the whitelist is not going to be shown. Okay, because I also saw specific IP address showing. What is that? Is that a public IP address or what?
Private range 172.16. So we will have predetermined a certain ranges that we don't need to hide. There's nothing really to see there.
That is one that your IT department has put in on a whitelist. Yes. Okay. Awesome. I like that.
What's interesting here is that as well as seeing the volume of traffic, we can also see the flows and active time. So some apps don't really consume a lot of bandwidth. Twitter would be a good example, but can consume a lot of time. So if you're managing your clients in this particular way. Now, something that's worth pointing out, especially for certain countries that are very sensitive on the privacy side of things, this feature can be turned off altogether. So in some geographies, it's really not appropriate. It's not considered to be appropriate use of a network admin's privileges to be able to see this, so we can turn this traffic analytics stuff off altogether. And you can turn it off globally, or you can turn it off by group. So you can create group policies that exclude this collection. Now, if we imagine that this user is misbehaving on our network, we want to do something about it, we could probably go about using tools like this, so policies. We can block somebody immediately from the network if we wish to, send them a message, which would appear as a pop-up on their device. Or we could apply group policy more realistically. So here's a bunch that we've built already. Some great names on here like bandwidth abuser and bad employees. So these are all obviously going to give you a selection of firewall rules, traffic shaping rules that are going to determine what this user's experience is like on their network. Now, because this client also has our MDM software installed, we can also see at the bottom here we have Systems Manager, a brief snapshot. There's a lot more detail around Systems Manager that we can obtain if we want to. This is just a quick overview. We can see that they're recognized as an online MDM client. So I'd like to show you a couple of the nice features that we have built in here. There's so many to choose from, it's very difficult to pick them. We're going to load up all of the switch ports that we have at our headquarters in San Francisco. We've got well over 2,000 of those, so there's a lot of information to be loaded into this screen, which is why it takes a moment or two. But we have a feature that we call virtual stacking. So of course, all switch people will know about stacking of switches, which gives you the ability to manage multiple switches as a single logical entity. We take the same concept there and we remove the physical connection component of that. So you can now make changes to multiple ports across multiple switches regardless of their geographic location, which can become very powerful indeed. So to give you an example, we can type in VoIP here, and we can see we've got a bunch of VoIP clients, 15 of them. I can actually edit all of these ports simultaneously. Now, because these are grouped together by tag, and I've selected all of them, I don't actually care which switches these are on. I don't care about their geographic location. They could be anywhere around the world. But I have a common set of settings that I want to apply to all ports that are tagged as VoIP. So here is where I make those settings. They're deployed instantaneously around the world.
So you can change the voice VLAN here. Yeah. You could add a VLAN to trunk ports.
You cannot, well, sorry, yes, you can do that. You can do that right here. So you can add in additional VLANs if it is set up as a trunk, yes. This is an access port, this one, right?
Yeah, but if it was a trunk, I could just add a VLAN to all switches applied.
So it's pretty powerful, and I always say here, with great power comes great responsibility. And we will warn you if you try and edit the uplink port, so just keep that in mind.
So I assume there's some role-based features in here as well, as in you can edit that. Could you go as deep as defining into the specific features? Like you had a list of things you could change. Can I give you the access to only change VLAN? Or once you get access to that list, you can change all?
It's not that precise, yeah. It's basically around whether you're a network admin, whether you're a read-only individual, whether you're a serviced customer, for example, they can get a really limited view with just the AVC stuff we looked at earlier. So we don't get quite that granular at this time.
You can limit to subsets of devices instead of all devices?
Yeah, absolutely. You can create a tag, apply that tag, and then have roles based against that tag. So that's pretty flexible. So here we're looking at a list of our switches. I'm just going to jump into a random switch. And on here we will see, for example, one of the features I wanted to show you was the topology view. So it's on every page of every piece of hardware that we sell. So if I click on topology, it's going to take and show me where this switch fits into the overall picture. So here is that dynamically created topology view, very powerful. The nice thing, what I like about this is that every one of these is hyperlinked, so we can just jump to any device and start managing it straight away. And bear in mind, this is a single pane of glass view. We don't log out and log back in to manage different types of hardware. So if it's an AP, as these are, we can just jump directly to managing that access.
Can you show uplink and downlink? Mouse over a link. It'll show you the actual ports that are connected to.
And the speed. So I mean, this is a really nice dynamic tool. And we're all used to creating static network maps, but really, this is...
Is it Meraki hardware only? Or does it show endpoints or in-between points? If there is a different router in the middle of that topology, would that show as a gray device or...?
It will show as a gray device. We will show as much information as we can glean using LLDP or CDP. But as far as obviously being able to jump to it and manage it, there's a limit in what we can do. But yes, you'll be able to see that as part of the topology, as far as we can map it.
I get it if it would be an endpoint, but if it's like a different router or firewall in the middle, you don't miss the other side of the firewall if it were Meraki devices. It's going to come through.
Yeah, as long as we're able to obviously see the device, as long as it's actually connected through to the internet, we'll be able to map it as accurately as we can.
Are you using a specific protocol for that? Or is that just using...
All right. So that's what I wanted to show you on the switches. I'm just going to jump across to the wireless quickly. Earlier on, we looked at, you saw location heat map capability earlier on with CMX. So we incorporate CMX capability as well on the Meraki side of things. It looks totally different. It's not as feature-rich as the traditional Cisco approach. but the heat map's a really nice solution that we have here. In fact, I have noticed that it does tend to make my CPU whir rather heavily, so this might take a moment to build. It's maybe not the best feature to have picked. Let's choose a random day last week. And we'll jump to the location. So again, we can move our slider up and down. We can press a play button to animate this as well. So we can actually see the clients coming and going using the heat map capability. And again, see how this is incorporated into Google Maps and works with the floor plans just the same way. I also wanted to show you the Bluetooth clients and the settings for that. So here are the Bluetooth clients that we're seeing with the APs that we have up at our HQ right now. So this is how you'll be able to do sort of basic monitoring capability to see what's out there. So we have a bunch of, you can see we've got some Estimote ones in there, some Apple iBeacons in place as well. And then the simple Bluetooth settings. And these really are very straightforward at this point in time. Advertising, yes or no, and then we can set the parameters that we need. And we can also enable scanning as well, which is really what we saw just a moment ago. Security appliance, I just want to show you a couple of cool features on the security appliance, and then I'll start to wrap things up. The security appliance, my favorite feature, without question, is site-to-site VPN. It's, I think, really a superb implementation. I have been one of the unlucky engineers who actually had to implement site-to-site VPN in the field, in the real world. And it's generally not a very popular experience. So with Meraki, I just want to show you how you can implement site-to-site connectivity with about 3 clicks of your mouse. So we determine what type of VPN we want to use, split tunnel or a full tunnel VPN. I'm going to go with a split tunnel. So decision 1 done. Decision 2, which of my local subnets do I want to share with remote locations? So I go down my list. This is quite a long list in our case. And just click yes where I want to share with other locations. It's a mesh or a hub and spoke VPN. And then my third mouse click is this one down here, save changes. And that's it, done. So then within a matter of seconds, all your sites will be connected and all your subnets will be shared between all those locations. So it's a pretty magic feature. I mean, we're really proud of this one. We're not reinventing VPN technology. What we're doing is basically hiding away all the individual parameters that you don't need to configure if you're connecting like-to-like boxes. We handle all the security, the certificate associations, and so on. It's all handled in the background.
Including behind address translations too, I might add.
Right.
So
yes, that's a really important point here. So because we know how to reach every single Meraki device through NAT, which is often one of the things that trips us up the most with site-to-site VPN, we can work around that. And if we need to connect to those third parties, then we can absolutely do so.
I was, you mentioned Ospf configurations. Is that something you could just real quick look at?
So let's go into Ospf configuration.
In that long list, was there a select all no and select all yes? The list of networks I want to connect through VPN.
That's a good question.
You're having 60.
Yeah. I think our case is a little exceptional because we're connecting back into Cisco. We've got mountains of subnets to work with. So there is not today. That could well work.
It's very easy to integrate a select all button in that interface, right?
It would be. You know, one of the biggest challenges we have all the time is there's always more features that you can add. And we try really, really hard to ask the question, is that feature really worth, are enough customers going to benefit from this that we want to implement it? So as I have a read-write account here, I'll be a little bit careful about how I use this, but just show you what the configuration settings look like. Fairly straightforward. We simply determine our areas, determine a name for it. What type do we want to support? So we support today normal, stub, and not so stubby areas. And then we can create the interfaces and apply Ospf to those. If we want to inject static routes into Ospf, we have the capability of doing that as well. And you've got your authentication if you want to use authentication for that. And then to actually see those, let's just go to the switches and the live tools. All right, that was a worrying thing to see there. Did you see that? It said this network has no switches. Not true. Right, so here's another one of our switches. Knowing my luck, I've picked one that's a layer 2 switch. Looks like I have. That's okay. I've loaded up a good example here. So here's a layer 3 switch we have in place. So one of the features that we added fairly recently is the ability to now ping via IP. So those of you who are Meraki stalwarts, you weren't able to do that with a switch previously. Now you can. We also have an Arp Table built in now as well, and routing table information. Doesn't look like we've got Ospf running on this actual switch.
I guess I'll go back to my earlier question. Do you do IPv6 forwarding, unicast forwarding?
Yes.
Okay, so IPv6 neighbor discovery table, in addition to the Arp table, would be nice. Ospf v3 configuration, obviously, to have parity with what you already have. And then, obviously the router advertisement question I had earlier, that would be nice, because you like to locally originate those if possible for security reasons.
That makes perfect sense. As these guys know, been working with Meraki for a while now, what I always do in these situations is say, don't worry, we have a solution for you, which is down in the lower right-hand corner of every page of the dashboard. And it's a really short feedback loop. So with this, you can make a wish. It goes directly to our development team. So this does not go to admins who filter these things through. The engineers themselves see these on a daily basis.
Works.
Mm-hmm. It does. They listen, even to me.
No comment. Okay, very last thing I'm going to show you, because I'm conscious of time. I wanted to switch to my VNC client, which is resized, and just want to show you really fast the Meraki Mobile App. I've got a resolution problem here, so this isn't going to work too well. I just wanted to give you a very quick view of what the Meraki Mobile App looks like. So we'll get a quick overview. So let me pick on one of my security appliances. This is the one I've got sitting on my desk back in San Francisco. So I've got application usage on there right now. I can see what equipment is plugged into that device right now. How many clients have I seen over the last period of time? And then I can look at the actual appliance itself, see the live utilization for that. So this is live stats we're seeing on the screen here. And this is all from my smartphone. So no need for me to go into the browser to look at this stuff. Local area network ports, which ones are up, and so on. One of my favorite features on this app, which I can't show you right now, but I can certainly describe easy enough, is the ability to add a new access point. And you can do it by scanning the barcode on that AP, and you can then add it into your network directly. So this is actually really useful. We had a customer who deployed literally thousands of sites, and they had problems because some people fat-fingered the serial numbers, made a mistake. Then they had to send engineers back to the site to check the serial numbers. It cost them a lot of money. Now, if they use a barcode, they just can't make that mistake anymore.
Wait. There's no installation of the device at all. You could send in a monkey to stick it on the wall and put in a wire, and it's done.
You tried that yet, but maybe we should. Interesting suggestion.
That is, to say, impressive. Just barcode scanning, this is your device.
Scan it, and it's added into the network, straight into dashboard. It will take the same settings as all the other devices that are in the same network immediately and start operating. So very smooth implementation.
You just plug the order number into the dashboard, and you don't have to scan
Well, you
them.
would have done that already.
Right,
Anyways. This is to claim it on the network.
Oh, to claim it on the network, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up now. With Meraki, there's always more, definitely. So come to the stand, and we can take you through anything specific you'd like to see in more detail. Thanks very much.